Hey everyone, I'm Army Gaming. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the 80s Island explanation video. Now, even though this is an explanation video, the majority of this video is going to be focused on my thoughts about this island as opposed to the actual explanation. The explanation portion of this video will be very concise and to the point. If you want a really deep, thorough explanation on how progressive islands work, you can honestly just refer back to any of my previous explanation videos on progressive islands because they're all pretty much the same thing. All that really changes whenever we get a new island is that there's new monsters. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. And by the way, all the information I'm going to be talking about, everything I'm going to be saying is extracted from MONSTER-WIKI.com. There's a link in the description if you want to follow along and see for yourself. So in this progressive island, there are 7 available monsters: Panda Explorer, MC Boss, Pixel Lion, Hippopotamus, Palax, Pinky Flash, and Hackster. So we have a total of 4 available legendary monsters and 3 epics, 2 of which are new and 2 legendaries of which are new. Now there's only really 2 things you need to understand about progressive islands, and if you understand this, you can understand how to do every single progressive island. The first thing you need to understand is that your level does not matter. If you're a new player or if you're a veteran player who's level 100, it doesn't matter. Each of you has the exact same opportunity to get a monster in this event. The only time that level matters is in the 72-hour challenge event, but mazes and progressive islands, if you're level 20 or you're level 100, both of you have the exact same chance to get a single monster, and that's just because the way the event is designed. So as far as collecting items, you need to understand pull and spawn. So we'll start things off with spawn. Spawn basically indicates how long it takes for another item to be added to your pool, and pool indicates how many items can be stored into that pool. I know it was a little redundant because I said pool again, but think of it this way: if the spawn time is 1 hour for an item, that means every single hour 1 item is added into your pool, and you can collect from your pool. Now the thing is, there's a certain maximum amount of items you can actually hold in the pool. So I like to give this analogy: pretend you're putting water into a pool. After a while the water starts to overflood, right? Well, in the case of Monster Legends, there's a certain number of items that can be added into that pool before you can't hold any more water. So hopefully that analogy made sense. So if we look at the example in MonsterWiki.com, under spawn you see 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 34 seconds. That means that every 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 34 seconds, another item is added to your pool. Another meteorite is added to your pool of items. And under pool we see the number 7. That means you can only store 7 meteorites in your pool before you can't hold any more. Which means if you wait 8 hours, your pool is going to be full, you're going to have 7 meteorites in your pool. If you wait 24 hours, you're still only going to have 7 meteorites. If you wait 2 days, you're still only going to have 7 meteorites. You cannot pass your pool number. So if you want to optimize the amount of items you can get, you would log in every 8 hours and collect 7 meteorites at a time. So hopefully that was straightforward. I'll give you guys one more example, but that's really all you need to know. So I'm going to go ahead and click on MC Boss. So here's all of the information for MC Boss. If you notice, in order to get a Rubik's Cube, the spawn time is 1 hour and 20 minutes with a pool of 6. If you multiply the pool time and the spawn time, you'll notice you get 8 hours. That means every 8 hours, you're going to be able to collect 6 Rubik's Cubes. Let's move over to the cherries. The pool is 4 and the spawn time is 2 hours, which means every 2 hours, another cherry gets added to your pool. Once again, if you multiply the pool and the spawn time, you get 8 hours. We look at the mushrooms, 1 times 8, 8 hours. And then this disco ball is just player versus player. As you know, you get another player versus player battle every 2 hours. So the interesting thing here is that for every other item, if you log in every 8 hours, your pool is going to be full. So that's all you really need to know if you don't understand the pool and spawn time. All you need to know is that you need to log in every 8 hours into the game, complete all of your tasks, and you're going to be getting the maximum amount of items you can possibly get. So if you don't understand anything else, just understand that. Log in every 8 hours and you're going to be good to go. And just to show you guys another example to really drive the point home, I'm going to show you Hackster. We look at the Rubik's Cube. The pool is 6, spawn time is 1 hour 20. Cherries, once again, pool is 4, spawn time is 2 hours. The VHS tape, that's different. You can battle that every 2 hours, similar to PvP, so skipping that. The mushrooms, 1 pool every 8 hours. Hatching the egg, 1 pool every 8 hours. So once again, all you need to do is log in every single 8 hours and you're going to be good to go. So now moving to some rather unfortunate news. Unlike previous progressive islands where we could get up to like the 7th monster or complete the whole progressive island for as little as like 250 gems or less with a lot of buffer time, things completely changed for this progressive island and most likely for future progressive islands unless Social Point decides to change it back to how it used to be. So one thing about progressive islands is that they normally don't last a long time. As you can see, there are currently 8 days, 12 hours, and 55 minutes remaining. So we move down to the gems cost per time charts available on MonsterWiki, and you'll get these interesting graphs. And it's actually really easy to understand these graphs. Down here on the bottom of each monster, it gives you an hour amount, and on the top it gives you the gem amount. This basically means that after 3 hours, if you wanted to buy the first monster, it would cost you 70 gems. If for example you played the game for 12 hours and you collected on time when you were supposed to, you collected your first batch of items, and 8 hours later you collected your next batch of items, and then 4 hours later you collected your batch of items for some reason you didn't want to wait the full 8 hours, well, if you wanted to buy the first monster, it would only cost you 18 gems. Basically, the more and more items you collect, the cheaper it is to cost a monster in terms of gems. So anyways, we would have to play on Panda Explorer for 18 hours before the cost would go down to 4 gems. So if we purchased him for 4 gems, we've already used up 18 hours of our time. MC Boss, if we use up no gems, it's gonna take us 1 day and 12 hours to get him. That's already 2 days and 6 hours. In order to get Pixel Lion, it would take 3 days and 18 hours for a grand total of 6 days. That means 6 days already passed and we only have 3 monsters. Moving on to Hippopotamus, 2 days and 2 hours for a grand total of 8 days, 2 hours, and this is assuming you have perfect logins. So if you don't have perfect logins, you would have to spend some gems. And even then, you're spending 4 gems on the first monster, 1 gem on Pixel Lion, and 1 gem on Hippopotamus, which essentially means the last 3 monsters are out of reach. There's no way to get them without using gems. And if we look at Palax, 4 days and 12 hours. They expect us to use up 4 days and 12 hours, the next monster is 5 days, the last monster is 5 days. That's impossible. That's an extra 14 days which we don't have. So once again, it's unfortunate, it saddens me to say, unlike previous events where we can complete the whole event for as little as 300 gems, 250 gems with a lot of buffer time, this time around, we're only able to get the first 4 monsters, 3 of which are epic. One of them is Pixel Lion, who isn't really that great, and even if we wanted to get the 5th monster and spend some gems, that is a lot of gems, and really, I don't think it's worth it. So my advice to all of you guys is just to save your gems, save your time, and hopefully in the future, Hackster and Pinky Flash will go on sale, and then we can purchase them because those 2 monsters are actually pretty good. It's a darn shame that we can't get them in this event because they are completely out of reach. Now the only way I can see that they would be within reach is if we have an item boost, which is basically when the spawn time gets cut in half, but even if that was to happen, it would probably happen for only 2 days, at most maybe 3 days, in which case Palax would be reachable, but Pinky Flash and Hackster, they still wouldn't be reachable. So it really saddens me to say, don't waste your time on this event. But regardless, let's move on to everyone's favorite portion of these videos, the mini analysis. Let's start things off with Panda Explorer. So Panda Explorer unfortunately doesn't have anything to offer us. He does have a pretty amazing speed for an epic monster, but when you look at his skills, he honestly doesn't have anything. Look at Arcane Orb, it's a 25 damage AoE, Spores 25 damage AoE, Mass Haste that may or may not land, Leaf Choke, single 45, Overload, AoE once again 25 damage, Prismatic Ray 45 damage. This monster is definitely not worth it, and for some reason all of the Pandoffs, with the exception of White Pandoff, they tend to be pretty bad, so it's a shame to say the very first monster we're gonna get is not good whatsoever. Moving on, we have MC Boss, and stats wise, there's nothing really too impressive. His trait is Hardened, which is pretty good. As for skills, he does have a 0 cooldown stun skill, he does have an AoE Daze, and he does have a skill that removes shields, as well as a 60 damage earth based attack. But other than that, he doesn't have anything more to offer us. Overall, as an epic monster, I would say he isn't that great. Moving on, we have Hippopotamus, and I love saying this monster's name. Stats wise, I would say the most interesting thing is the life. This is one of the top 30 lives for epic monsters. And speed is also pretty darn good, but take a look at the trait, Immune to Freeze. If you ever find yourself in a Team Wars involving water monsters, and epic for the rarity, Hippopotamus is a great choice because he may not be immobilized by the enemy water monster. And as far as skills go, let's look at the ultimate. It removes debuffs, it heals all of your team by 30%, and it gives all of your team a damage boost. Skills group 1, we have a skill called Take on Hip, which heals an ally by 25% and gives them increased accuracy. It only has a 1 turn cooldown and it only costs 25 stamina. A Kick of Magic is very similar, 25 stamina, 1 turn cooldown, also heals by 25%, but it removes debuffs instead. Healing on a Prayer heals by 30% and gives a damage boost to an ally, although it has a 2 turn cooldown and costs 25 stamina. Back and Track is a team skill that removes all debuffs from your whole team. And another great supportive skill, Mad World, heals one ally by 25%, gives them a damage boost and increased accuracy. And as for offense, Hippopotamus has every hit you take, and like a Slayer, 55 damage, 45 damage, they also heal his life. So overall, I really like this monster. Surprisingly, I saw some people say it's not that great of a monster, but if you take a look at all the supportive skills, it can be a great epic to heal your legendaries. And he's also really sustainable. He can remove negative effects, he can heal himself, heal allies. Overall, I really like this monster. The trait is great, the life is great, skills are great. Now of course, this monster isn't as competitive as those other epic monsters, with like the 2 turn possession, with freezing and a lot of extra turns, but nonetheless still a pretty good epic in my opinion. So next we have Pixel Lion, and I guess the best thing about this monster is that he's immune to stun. Now you could also argue that that's not really a good thing, considering a lot of magic monsters have possession skills, so you really need to worry more about possession than you need to worry about stun, just in the magic elements. So anyways, moving on to skills, you could also say that this monster is pretty darn unique, because he has magic, water, and fire attacks, and no other legendary monster does that. However, the skills aren't anything too amazing. He does have an AoE freeze skill, however it's only 50%, so as far as this monster being an immobilizer, he's honestly not that great of a monster. And even overall, considering the type of magic monsters we have now, I would have to say Pixel Lion is considerably outclassed by the other magic monsters. Next up we have Palax, who is a dark attacker. He has an amazing power. His life is nothing too amazing, however he has a lot of lifesteal skills, and his speed is pretty darn amazing. This speed is faster than a lot of denier monsters. Now of course you would never run off speed on this monster, but the fact that he does have this great speed, if you give him the same level speed rune that your opponent has on his attacker, most likely Palax would go before the enemy attacker. His trait unfortunately is not the greatest, immune to nightmares. Being a dark monster, it's way better to be immune to possession or immune to stun. But let's take a look at skills. He has the special base 65 damage attack. Given this monster's power, given this some strength runes, that's enough to kill any dark monster with a single hit. And he also has a dark base 60 damage skill, which works perfect against tanky earth monsters, and it also gives poison. Slaughter bites, by the way, also gives bleeding in case the enemy dark monster was to survive. After bleeding, it would most likely die. And he has a skill called Dark Stream, which deals 60 damage, and it's a 100% lifesteal skill, as well as Dark Outcry, which does 60 damage, has a 1 turn cooldown, costs 25 stamina, and is a 50% lifesteal skill. So this monster is pretty self-sustainable, great speed, great power. Overall, this is a really great attacker. And now we move on to the two newest monsters of the 80s island, Pinky Flash. Pinky has a power of 3,498, which is an extremely high power for magic monsters. Next up is her life of 33,779, thus making her the tankiest magic monster in the whole entire game. Now unfortunately, with great power and great life comes a really bad speed of 3,091. And fortunately for Pinky Flash, her trait is hardened, which means 20% of the time she is not going to be immobilized. So starting things off with her ultimate, Burning Ham, 120 damage special based attack to a single enemy, that's going to be strong enough to wipe out whatever enemy you target. Now here's a really great thing about Pinky Flash. Being a magic monster, she has to worry about being possessed, because a lot of magic monsters have possession skills. Well, she actually has a skill called Jumping Jacks. It's a self skill that gives her double damage and double life. So if she was ever to get possessed by the enemy immobilizer, it doesn't matter because you can just use Jumping Jacks, give yourself double damage and give yourself double life. So it's going to increase your tankiness and increase your damage. In my opinion, this skill is so incredible because being a magic monster, you're prone to getting possessed. The fact that her skills give her a counter for her possession while still having the amazing trait Harden, which helps her again freeze and stun from other elements, that is phenomenal. And then she's going to be extremely tanky and dish out a lot of damage. She has a skill called Pain Barrier, deals 60 damage, has a 1 turn cooldown, and it removes shield. If you ever fight against earth monsters, this can definitely come in handy. Honda style, 80 damage, 1 turn cooldown, 80 damage magic based attack, that is so darn powerful. And possibly one of the most unique things about her, Jumping Hams, 50 damage AoE, 50 damage special based AoE. Normally when we see 45 damage or 50 damage, it's usually an element based attack, so regardless if you're attacking a magic monster or any other element, it's going to deal 50 damage. Given this monster's power, given some strength runes, that's going to be enough to wipe out the whole enemy team. So what can I say, Pinky Flash is a pretty amazing magic attacker. Now her biggest weakness is her speed, and many people would argue that speed doesn't really matter for attackers. Now myself, I'm going to be a little hesitant to make that claim because the speed of 3091, that's kind of too low for my liking. Because for example, if the enemy has a speed of 6,182 or above, that means they're going to get 2 turns in before your Pinky Flash gets 1 turn in. And getting a speed that fast isn't too hard to do, especially considering a lot of deny monsters have a base speed of like 3, 4, 6, 5. However, you could always just give Pinky Flash 2 strength runes and a speed rune, and then that kind of remedies it. So overall, I would still say Pinky Flash is an extraordinary attacker. And thus we move on to Haxor, and all I have to say about this monster is what the heck were the developers thinking? This monster might just possibly be the best denier in the whole entire game. Some people might argue he even rivals Timerion. I'm not too sure about that. I mean, gosh, you have to see it for yourself. Haxor is without a doubt extraordinary. He can beat a lot of deniers. Of course, Krampus is faster than Haxor. Let's see, Haxor has a speed of 3476. That is extremely fast. There are only 13 monsters that have a faster base speed than Haxor. But I should also mention there's like 12 monsters that have the exact same speed as Haxor. But as you can see, he's pretty much faster than a lot of deny monsters. And one thing you should know, a lot of the monsters that have a speed of 3476, they tend to have only the one deny skill. Galante comes to mind. He has single possession, 100% stamina drain. Lao Mu comes to mind. She has a single possession. She can apply 1 random negative effect to all of the enemy team. Sarah comes to mind, she has stun skills. Tessaday also has this speed, but he doesn't really have any mobilizing skills. Frostwrath also has this speed of 3476, but he also doesn't have a team deny skill. But Haxor on the other hand, he just like, let's just move on to his skills. Actually, before I move on to skills, his trait is immune to magnetizing, which is possibly one of the worst traits to have. But once again, because of this monster's speed, that doesn't even matter. And we'll start things off with his ultimate, Trojan Mouse, may hack all targets for 2 turns. Now hack, it looks like it's going to be a possession, and it actually looked like it's going to bypass immunity to possession, which means every single magic monster beware, you are not safe from hacked. And this also means that monsters like Kaolic, Monster Device, or Sarah that can give your whole team immunity to possession, it's not going to help you from Haxor. But seriously, how crazy is this? Hacked for 2 turns. Now I know it's just the ultimate, but you know how we have Mega Stun that can bypass stun? In the game we do currently have a 2 turn possession, but it can't bypass possession, but hacked can supposedly. So Trojan Mouse, an incredible ultimate, way too overpowered in my opinion. And now let's move on to other skills. We have Black Hat, may hack all targets. It's an AoE hacked skill. So once again, an AoE possession that can bypass possession. Frack Editor, may magnetize target can't attack on the next turn, requires cooldown. Now according to the information provided, it says it's going to be an AoE, and it gives magnetizing and time stop. It doesn't matter what immunity trait you have, no one is immune to time stop. So not only does he have hack that can bypass possession, he has time stop that can obviously bypass possession, bypass stun, bypass freeze, so that's already 2 AoEs. Moving on to Original Cracker, hey guess what, it's an AoE stun skill. An AoE metal base skill, so if you use Editor the previous turn and follow it up with Original Cracker, after immobilizing with time stop, you're gonna immobilize with stun, and they're gonna take quite a bit of damage because they're magnetized. So that's already 3 AoEs that deny. And moving down to Explorer, what do you know, gives double damage, may hack target, another team skill supposedly that's gonna hack and give them double damage. That's insane, another team hack skill. Now I am going to say one thing, I honestly don't believe that Editor and Explorer are going to be AoE skills, I believe they're going to be single target skills. You can see that from the description and also just by looking at what the skill does. I really don't think Social Point would make an AoE time stop, that's way too overpowered. And I really don't think Social Point would make an AoE hacked that also gives double damage. Because that skill is pretty much saying, hey, I'm going to take possess of all of your opponent's monsters, I'm going to give them double damage, may they attack each other, plus my monsters are going to attack them. That's way too overpowered. Also if you compare Black Hat and Explorer, notice that they both have a 3-turn cooldown, and Black Hat, it only gives hacked for a 3-turn cooldown, while Explorer supposedly is also an AoE and it gives double damage and hack. That doesn't really make sense to me. So I'm fairly certain that both Editor and Explorer are going to be single target hits. He's probably not nerfed yet, but he probably will be once they realize they made a mistake on his skills. But even then, an AoE hacked, a single time stop, an AoE stun, and a single hack that gives double damage, that is way too powerful of a monster, especially considering this monster's speed. Without a doubt, this is the best monster in the 80s Island event, and he's honestly one of the best monsters to ever be released. Unfortunately, like I already mentioned, it is near impossible to get Hackster unless you spend a lot of gems. Now actually, if you want to see how many gems it would cost to get Hackster or Pinky Flash, if you just go to monsterwiki.com/80sisland, keep in mind there's a link in the description, it'll send you right to it. Just scroll down all the way to the comments, look for Jasper's comment. He posted tables of when you should be collecting and how many gems it would cost to actually get Hackster and Pinky Flash. Just know that it's well over 900. So I highly don't recommend it. Jasper doesn't recommend it either, but if you do want to get Hackster and Pinky Flash, feel free to go into Monster Wiki and look at the comments. The best advice I can give everyone in this event is just to go for Hippopotamus, and don't worry about the last 3 legendary monsters. They're not worth your time, they're not worth your gems. If anything, just save your gems, and then hopefully in the future, Hackster goes on sale for 249 gems, even up to 300 gems, I'd be fine with it, and that's when you should purchase him. But I personally do not recommend that you waste your time or your gems on this event. And with that being said, that's going to be it for this video. Normally I tell you guys good luck to all of you, and may you get whoever you want to get, but I know for a fact we can't get Hackster, so I'm gonna leave it there. Like always, remember to dream big and pursue your passions.